So here's what I decided to do with the spreader bars on the Ferris wheel. This is going to go from spoke to spoke to keep the two spokes from either spreading or collapsing on themselves. So we need something in between. What I was going to do is going to go with either aluminum, or I was going to put steel flat stock. Drill a couple holes on the side and then mount it that way. I figured two little sheet metal screws in there. It'll make it nice, come off easy, on easy. What I'm going to try is actually some threaded rod. I have some 1/4 round, and I tapped it, or threaded it, I mean, and the bolts don't go on very well. It's just slightly larger diameter than the threaded rod, or what somebody might call all thread. So we're going to do the all thread. And I drilled the holes. We're going to cut this down to size, put it in. We're going to see how the rigidity is. If that doesn't work well, then we're going to go with the flat stock like originally planned. All right, this isn't anything relatively earth-shattering or new or anything, but since we need the cross pieces, what we're going to do is we're going to put some threaded rod in, like I was talking about. And then, so I drilled a hole halfway up. This is just a starter, and what I'm going to do is put in my bench brace here and my little Okay, so then what we do to ensure that both pieces are pretty close to being in the same spot, and I don't like to rely on my measuring skills. Put one up on top of the other here. Throw them in the vise. Make sure they're all lined up or squared off pretty good. Drill through the top, through the bottom. That's it. What I'll do now is actually I made a starter hole in there, so we're gonna go through and just drill through it on just the one in there. Keep the chatter down. So here we are with we got the threaded rod that we just talked about installed. I have nylon washers on either side. I mean nylon bolts on either side with some oversized washers. One there, one there. Now, while it does hold it somewhat stopping it from spreading or collapsing, I still noticed a little bit of wobble in here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Kind of hard. But so I'm not sure if I can live with that yet. So we're going to hold off on this. Maybe I'll try a piece of the flat stock, and see if that kind of holds it together a little bit better. I'm just trying to make this as easy as possible for tear down the setup, you know, without going ballistic on a lot of stuff. It might tighten up a little bit more once I get up and finish up on the drive train up there too. So anyway, so that's where we're at. And you noticed I took the center pin out and I put EMT in there, which holds it much better. I might have to re-engineer some holes and stuff in there, but I think it's coming along pretty good so far. So I found out that I'm not too happy with the threaded rod in between the spokes. It just doesn't give it enough, it's not rigid enough. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to try this mode now. I'm going to use a piece of aluminum flat stock. This is 1 inch by 1/8. This is a piece of scrap I have of the box steel. This is only 3/4, half inch. On the spokes, it's actually 3/4, so it's a little bit bigger than this, but gives us an idea. What we did here is I drilled a hole over here, then we tapped it, and we're going to use a number 8/30 screw in here, and screw this down. This will help eliminate some bolts and whatnot, and tighten that down, and that's pretty much how we're going to have it. We'll drill another hole and tap it in there, and hopefully that'll give us some rigidity between the two spokes. Now, to take off a couple spokes and drill them out. All right, this isn't anything relatively earth-shattering or new or anything, but since we need the cross pieces, what we're going to do is we're going to put some threaded rod in, like I was talking about. And then, so I drilled a hole halfway up. This is just a starter, and what I'm going to do is put in my bench brace here and my little. Okay, so then what we do to ensure that both pieces are pretty close to being in the same spot, and I don't like to rely on my measuring skills. Put one up on top of the other here. Throw them in the vise. Make sure they're all lined up or squared off pretty good. Drill through the top, through the bottom. That's it. What we'll do now is actually made a starter hole in there, so we're gonna go through and just drill through it on the other, with just the one in there. Keep the chatter down. So here we are. We got pulled off two of the spokes and cut the metal aluminum flat stock to size, and then we drilled out the holes and we tapped them for the screws. So we'll put it together, put it on, see if it works. I'm a little nervous about it, to be honest with you, because it's just so hard to say, make sure it's square and true to the frame, because nothing is machined exactly. So, but we'll see how it comes out. I'm hoping it's within tolerances I can live with. Well, we installed the strapping on the inside of the spokes. Still not 100% happy with it. I'm still getting some wobble in between, some unsteadiness. Some of that, in fact, a lot of it, I think, is because I went from the PVC to the EMT, and it's actually a different radius, diameter pipe. So I'm going to have to tear it apart and redo the hubs so that it's got some rigidity to it, because as you can see, it's got a lot of play in there. I would really like it to be more snug fit. So I had planned on taking them off anyway to round them off, so I guess this is a good time to do it. So we're going to take this whole thing apart again, probably not the last time, and change out those hubs and see if that stiffens it up a little bit. It's somewhat within tolerances for what I mean, I could probably live with it. I'm just concerned if it gets windy out and stuff like that. But I'm going to tear it apart, like I said, and redo those hubs, tighten it up a little, and then see where it goes from there.